I got a reading about you, and it explained everything: the energy, the silence, the way your soul refuses to blend in. The reading said your soul has lived many lives, which is why no one can categorize or understand you in this one. Now I understand why you moved differently. Your energy doesn't belong to this time. It's too ancient, too rare. When the reading described your aura, I almost cried. It matched the feeling I've been trying to explain since I met you. The reading said your soul glows even in chaos, and now I finally see why you shine brightest when everyone else breaks. It said your silence is sacred, not cold, and I finally get why being near you feels like standing before an untamed God. The reading revealed that your heart carries both heaven and hell, and now I understand why I can never stop thinking of you. They said your spirit doesn't obey earthly rules, and that's exactly what I've felt every time you walked away smiling. The reading said you came here to wake sleeping souls, and I realize now that's what you did to me. It said you carry wounds from lifetimes ago, and suddenly your distance started to make heartbreaking sense. The reader said your eyes hide galaxies, and I finally understand why I can't look too long without losing myself. Now I know why your love feels both healing and destructive. You were born to change every soul you touch. The reading said your energy bends reality, and I've been living proof ever since you appeared. It said you're not humanly consistent because your soul is made of storms, and now I see why you feel unreachable. The reading confirmed what I already knew. You're not from this dimension, and that's why no one can replace you. I finally understand why I feel safe in your chaos. You were meant to be my divine confusion. The reading said your love awakens past lives, and suddenly every dream of you feels like a memory. Now I know why I can't hate you, even after pain. You were written in my chart as a karmic turning point. The reading said your touch activates purpose, and now I know why my heart changed direction after you. It said you carry divine rebellion in your soul, and that explains why you've never been afraid of being misunderstood. The reader said your connection with me wasn't coincidence. It was an ancient contract renewed in this life. Now I understand why I can't move on. Our souls are still negotiating in realms my body can't reach. The reading said you mirror my deepest wounds, and now I see you were never the problem. You were the revelation. It said your presence feels heavy because it carries centuries of truth that no human heart can fully hold. The reader said your silence speaks in codes only destined souls can decode. and I finally got the message. Now I understand why I dreamed of you before meeting you. You were already echoing in my timeline. The reading revealed you're my unfinished lesson, my necessary chaos, my sacred ache. It said your purpose was to awaken love through destruction. And now I see how every heartbreak with you was divine. The reader told me your energy burns through illusions. And I realized that's why I can't lie around you. Now I know why my body reacts before my mind when you're near. Our frequencies have unfinished business. The reading said you attract old souls who are afraid to evolve, and I guess that's why I ran and stayed. It said your spirit is magnetic to pain because it knows how to turn it into power. The reader said your heart is a battlefield of lifetimes, and I finally understand your beautiful resistance. Now I understand why your love feels like destiny and punishment at once. You came to rewrite my karma. The reading said your absence is part of the lesson, and I'm learning more from the silence than your words have ever taught me. It said you're destined to be misunderstood by the shallow and worshipped by those who feel deeply. The reader said you wear loneliness like armor, but your soul still prays for a love that won't flinch. Now I know why you scare people. You remind them of what they've buried within themselves. The reading said you are both the test and the cure, and that contradiction is your divine signature. It said your love language is transformation, not comfort, and I finally stopped trying to soften your fire. The reader said your eyes have seen too much to ever look at love simply again. Now I understand why your touch feels ancient. It's not passion, it's recognition. The reading said your path isn't meant to be peaceful. It's meant to awaken worlds through chaos. It said your energy can't stay in one body too long. You were built to move, to break, to resurrect. The reader told me your connection is cosmic, not logical, and I finally stopped trying to explain it to people who've never felt it. Now I know why you feel both near and unreachable. You exist in dimensions my love can only visit in dreams. The reading said your essence defies ordinary love, and I finally see why I've been endlessly drawn to your impossible depth. It said your soul moves through time like a river, and now I understand why every moment with you feels both ancient and new. The reader said your energy wakes the dormant parts of hearts, and suddenly my loneliness feels like it was waiting for you. Now I know why your laughter lingers even when you leave. It carries echoes of lives we've shared without knowing. The reading said your presence is a challenge disguised as a gift. And now I understand why loving you feels like destiny. It said you were born to rewrite rules, and suddenly your contradictions make perfect sense to me. The reader told me your soul holds storms and serenity together, and I finally see why being near you is both thrilling and terrifying. Now I understand why your eyes pierce deeper than words. They are mirrors of ancient truths. The reading said your love is not casual, it's transformative, and I realize why every glance from you changes me forever. It said you carry echoes of lifetimes that no one else can hear, and now I finally hear you too. The reader said your heart beats in riddles, and I finally understand why I keep trying to decode you. Now I know why your absence feels louder than your presence. Your energy leaves imprints no one else can follow. The reading said your spirit attracts those ready to awaken, and suddenly every encounter with you feels intentional. It said you are both a wound and a remedy, and now I understand why being with you feels like both loss and salvation. The reader told me your soul doesn't belong to time, and I finally see why every clock slows when you're near. Now I know why your silence is louder than words. It speaks in a language only awakened hearts can understand. The reading said your touch awakens dormant memories, and suddenly every brush of your hand feels predestined. It said your love is a mirror that forces growth, and now I understand why being with you is so relentless yet beautiful. The reader said your aura carries stories that no mouth can tell, and now I've finally read you in every glance. Now I know why I've felt haunted by you even before meeting you. It was your energy calling me home. The reading said your soul dances between light and shadow, and I finally understand why every moment with you feels electric. It said your presence heals the broken and awakens the sleeping, and now I see why being around you feels sacred. The reader told me your path was never ordinary, and now I understand why everything about you is unforgettable. Now I know why your heart feels both gentle and fierce. It is the heartbeat of universes within you. The reading said your essence is impossible to cage, and suddenly your unpredictability feels like freedom I didn't know I needed. It said you were born to challenge and awaken, and now I understand why every encounter with you reshapes me. The reader said your love is magnetic but selective, and now I see why only certain souls can handle your intensity. Now I know why your aura lingers even after you leave. It imprints wisdom and longing on everything you touch. The reading said you carry both fire and frost, and suddenly your contradictions make perfect sense. It said your soul remembers what the heart forgets, And now I understand why every memory of you feels like deja vu. The reader told me your spirit attracts both awe and fear, and now I finally understand why I'm both terrified and drawn to you. Now I know why your love is never casual. It is a force that shapes destinies. The reading said your presence awakens hidden truths, and suddenly I see the world differently because of you. It said your heart holds both chaos and serenity, and now I understand why every conversation with you feels eternal. The reader said your soul has been everywhere, and now I finally understand why you feel like a lifetime condensed into one body. Now I know why I've been unable to forget you. Your essence is stitched into the fabric of my being. The reading said your energy is a lesson disguised as presence, and suddenly every moment with you feels like destiny. It said your love is a rare storm that awakens and destroys, and now I understand why every touch feels monumental. The reader told me your aura carries secrets only the brave can face, and now I realize I was meant to be one of them. Now I know why your laughter echoes in my memory. It carries wisdom and mischief from places I've never seen. The reading said your soul thrives in intensity, and I finally understand why you refuse to settle for mediocrity. It said your energy cannot be owned, and now I see why every attempt to contain you has failed. The reader told me your spirit walks between worlds, and suddenly your distance feels like a bridge I long to cross.